So there's the older care recipient who is older but still cognitively able, but really not into computers, so really not very large user of this device. There was a limited number of informal caregivers who also didn't really want to use it, and the nursing home team that tried to communicate a little bit but didn't find very much response. But this group still appreciated the use of the device because it was a means to stay in touch and to really communicate in a very short moment and a short distance. So the staying in touch digital network was how we called it. And here's another type of digital care network in which the communication was far more often, far more used, far more intensively used, because the care recipient here were parents with dementia, and adult children were very much involved and engaged in making this a success. And they also wanted to use it very often and on a daily basis because they wanted to know whether mother was safe and what had happened during the day, for instance. And so there's a lot of communication between the informal and the formal caregivers in this area, very much due to the health problems and the wishes and the demands and how the informal caregivers wanted to take care of this communication process. And finally, this is the third type of care network we identified, with a very much self-manageable care recipient, people with physical disabilities but cognitively very able to use such a device. And these persons mostly arranged the schedule of caregiving using this device. So the arranging client was a very important actor here. So whenever you use a specific tool, such a communication device, I think the important message here is that there's a lot of, you need to identify who is really going to benefit from such a tool, and also who is going to be able to respond to the messages that informal caregivers would like to use. This group really preferred to use the traditional offline telephone calls, for instance, or writing down the communication things in written material. But I think we need to think more about the digital communication tools. Okay, take home messages, look at the social care network, look at your own social care network maybe, but especially of your clients and all the people around you. It's very important in the next era to build a social network with care potential. We have to take care of our own networks, but also really realize that something has to change in personal networks and to be able to rely more on informal caregivers. I think it's also very important that we have to take a network perspective, that we're not looking at one care recipient and one caregiver. We have to go really beyond that. We know that there are a lot of people that are receiving care from more and more persons, and that brings more communication problems and all those kind of things, but it may also bring more caregivers. Social network care potential not often used. This is the very important one. Professional home care use associated with less control, lower well-being, and it may be that digital communication devices are used to increase the bridge between the informal and formal, but we also know that it's not very easy for home care organizations to buy such a device and to implement this in practice and organizations. So this is my message. These are all the publications. You may want to look them up, and this is my thank you to you. Bringing it down to very few minutes for questions, but would you like to still do that? Are there questions? Any specifics? Yes?
Thank you very much for the interesting talk. You didn't really mention about this, but older people could potentially build their own networks within the group of older people. Is that something you have studied? Because
Yeah, so like peers, like good friends, and those. Yeah, we were looking at to what degree they use the context within their neighborhood. So that's why we looked at how who is present in their proximate social network. Who are they? How many people do they have contact with who are living within their vicinity, and to what degree are their friends and neighbors and those kind of people. And that's what I try to say, is that these people are there, so they have local social networks, but they're not really transformed into caregivers yet. And that may have a lot to do with what I presented in the beginning, that these people don't feel very, it's for them not very spoken to itself that they will also be able to provide care, for instance. And of course, care can be in a very broad dimension that identifies not household care or personal care, but friends and local neighbors can provide a lot of social support or emotional support. And when we focus on care, and I think that these people are providing those supportive types of support, but translating it into care is a different step. But I think that we need to expand our view on informal caregivers in this respect. So, thank you. Others? Yeah?
Yes, elderly people, many of them will not use computers, they can't manage.
Right.
And there's what about digital help, so they can't get this digital help. So what we do, I mean, there's many persons. What do you do about that? They don't get that opportunity.
No, I think that's it more depends on that other people in our social network are helping them, but getting more, making use of these devices, you would say. I think that we are shifting our, the generations of older people are getting more well known in how to deal with computers and those kind of things. But it will, to a large degree, also depend on whose help they can receive with it, right? So don't focus only on this person, but also maybe use the help of children or other people in their surroundings to use it. And professionals. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Others? No, coffee.